North Africa, the Toubkal Mountains in Morocco. A man is being tortured and questioned about talking to the police. His family is threatened. He denies their accusations and is murdered with a sledgehammer. Ciudad Real, Spain. A man named Reynal is released from prison. His colleague, Gracia, picks him up and introduces Vanessa, his girlfriend and work partner. They arrive at Alfonso Castrovillo's house and talk about doing another job. They meet with Castrovillo, who blackmailed someone into having Reynal released. Reynal is thanked for keeping quiet and sent to his room. Reynal greets Said, who works for Castrovillo. Reynal demands a phone, but Said says no one is allowed phones except during a job. Said introduces his girlfriend, Layla, a drug mule and drug addict. Reynal checks his room and finds a hidden SIM card. Paris, France. 2 children were murdered in a hospital. The parents of one of the children are missing. Richard Cross is put in charge of the investigation. Reynal and his crew pick up drugs from a beach in southern Catalonia and return home. Toulouse, France. Sarah Balaichi is a member of the police division that monitors drug trafficking. She arrives at a road closure and speaks with Tony, the investigator at the scene. A man was killed during the road closure. Tony asks her if the dead man is one of Sarah's informants, but she denies it. Sarah has a drink with her partner, Bob. He says it's dangerous to hide informants from the police. He leaves and Sarah looks at a picture of Reynal. Reynal and Gracia meet with Castrovillo. Castrovillo says they leave at 8 a.m. Reynal wants to know where they're going. Castrovillo threatens Reynal by telling him to listen to reason. Reynal says that knowing where he's going is reasonable, and he's out if they don't tell him. He's told they're going to Carcassonne in France. Reynal sneaks into Said's room and uses one of the phones, which he then returns. At headquarters, Sarah walks in and says Reynal texted her the details of when they're leaving and where they're going. Richard investigates the hospital murders with his colleagues, Lucy and Frank. Lucy saw a truck on surveillance footage. 2 people get out and are suspected of being the killers. Sarah and Bob meet the drug squad that will arrest the people involved in the drug trade when they cross the border into France. One of the men is named Viking, and they get along well. The head of the drug squad wants to know why they haven't talked to the Spanish police about the trade. Sarah says that Castrovillo is very powerful in Spain. The missing mother of one of the murdered boys is found in a river with her throat cut. Cameras in the area show that the van used to dump the body is the same one they saw at the hospital. Reynal puts a tracker on one of the cars. Sarah talks to Bob about how she and Reynal trained together, but he fell victim to drugs. Castrovillo's team is ready to leave. Said is put in charge. A burnt car was found and identified as the same van from the hospital and river. Richard tells Lucy and Frank to be careful as they go through the neighborhood, asking questions. Lucy knocks on the door of a woman named Juliet, whose late husband was a cop. She wants to help Lucy and gives her the information she'd gathered from her neighbors by watching them as her husband taught her. Juliet also took pictures and saw 2 people burn the van and leave. She offers Lucy the pictures and warns her about Chris. the main drug dealer in the area. Chris calls Gracia, saying cops raided his area. Gracia is angry he's being bothered and hangs up. Layla sniffs cocaine, and Saeed tells her to stop taking drugs during the job. He calls her pathetic. They continue to drive along the highway. Saeed gets a text and tells Layla to read it. She refuses. Saeed threatens her. She throws up and passes out. Saeed panics and goes off course to pull the car over. Layla is unresponsive. A police van arrives to check on them. Saeed says there's no problem and his wife is just sick. He's ordered to step away from the car. Saeed pretends to reach for his registration, but pulls out his gun and shoots a cop. Gracia arrives and helps Saeed kill the rest of the cops. Gracia is angry. Saeed realizes Layla is dead. Gracia orders him to leave her body there. Sarah is told they've got a problem. She finds out that 3 police officers were killed in the area the drug traders were driving through. She goes to the crime scene with Viking and the head of the drug squad. Sarah and Bob don't know Layla. A drug addict was in the woods and witnessed the shooting. It's confirmed that the killers were Gracia and Saeed. Sarah says they'll hide inland, but must eventually go to Carcassonne to deliver the drugs. Gracia's crew arrive at a snowy farm. The farmer asks what's wrong. Gracia says they had to stop for the weather and asks if they can stay there for the night. Gracia threatens the farmer's 10-year-old son, and the crew is given shelter for the night. Richard discovers that Layla's DNA matches one of the 2 unknown DNA swabs taken from the murder scene at the hospital. Gracia's crew has dinner at the farmer's home. Gracia gets a call about a new meeting location and is ordered to kill Saeed when the job is done. He finishes his call and sees the farmer walk out of the house. The farmer looks at their cars and sees the bullet holes and the bags of drugs. Gracia shoots him. Richard meets Sarah and Bob as their investigations have crossed over. They don't know why 2 children were killed in France by drug dealers from Spain. Richard gets a call that Layla is from the same village as Ben Hamid, the missing father of one of the murdered boys. Layla's family has dealt drugs for generations. Richard wants files on all of them and to keep searching for Hamid. Gracia returns to the house and tells Reynald to take the farmer's wife and son to the basement. Gracia sees Reynald prepare his gun so he can kill the farmer's wife and son. Sarah informs the joint team that the crew is on a farm in Spain, but they can't get more information. They'll only arrest the crew members who cross the border into France. Richard asks if there's another way. Sarah says that Castroviejo is dangerous to go after in Spain. They hope the second killer is part of Gracia's crew. Lucy and Franck find out from Juliet that Chris is Saeed's cousin. They have pictures of Layla and Chris being connected to the murder of the 2 children. The following day, Gracia's crew leaves for Carcassonne. They stop at a gas station. Reynald secretly puts something in his mouth and says he's going to the bathroom. He calls Sarah and says the drug exchange is happening at the Carcassonne Citadel. Sarah's joint team gets ready. They see the cars arrive. Richard thinks something is wrong as they're making the trade in daylight. A school bus arrives and school children get out. The crew use the children as cover for the drug trade. The trade is made with a man named Briganti. Gracia and Briganti part ways as soon as the deal is done. Gracia is stopped while some of his crew manage to get away. Briganti is arrested. Richard wants DNA samples from the crew members they've arrested to see if there's a match to the other unidentified DNA sample from the child murders. The joint crew decides to arrest Castrovilleo at his home. Saeed and the rest of the crew make a new plan. Saeed calls Chris, who instructs him to transfer the drugs to a different car, change plates, and meet him. Chris also says Saeed has a mole in his crew. Saeed points a gun at Reynal, but shoots someone else. Sarah doesn't see Saeed or Reynal among the arrested crew members. Sarah and Richard have a smoke outside. They talk about family and Reynal. Richard says his wife left him 3 months ago and took their daughter. Sarah asks if he's on the market, and they laugh. They can't tell if the dead man is Reynal. Police raid Castrovilleo's complex. He fights back. Lucy and Franck can't find Castrovilleo, but find 20 million euros hidden in the walls. Castrovilleo puts on a uniform as a disguise and tries to escape, but he's caught. The crew is being transported with a police escort. The police cars stop because of an accident. Vanessa says she needs to go to the bathroom, but her request is refused. She starts peeing and uses it as a distraction. Gracia and Vanessa take off their handcuffs. Richard and Sarah try to take them down. Vanessa is shot dead, and Gracia escapes. Viking and Bob are shot. Viking dies, and Bob is sent to a hospital to recover. Reporters surround the police station. Briganti's lawyer threatens Sarah. Sarah says Briganti was arrested with 150 kilograms of cocaine, and his lawyer shuts up. Richard confirms that Saeed and Reynal are going to Paris. Sarah and Richard go to Paris. The farmer's wife and son arrive as witnesses. Sarah tries to make sure reporters do not see them because it will put Reynal in danger. Gracia is sitting in an old house, eating and watching the news. He sees the farmer's wife and son are alive and realizes Reynal is the mole. Gracia leaves and is picked up by someone who gives him a phone. He makes a call saying they'll deliver the drugs to another location. Saeed gets a text. Reynal is driving with him, but Saeed refuses to tell him what the text says. Lucy and Franck realize an intern at the hospital, Nawabi, is from the same village as Layla. Juliet sees Chris leave and sends Lucy the plate number of his scooter. The scooter's description and plate number are shared with the general police force. Chris meets Gracia, and they go into a warehouse. A police car passes the warehouse. One of the cops sees Chris's scooter and calls it in. Richard and Sarah had gone to Sarah's hotel room and made love. They get a call to go in. Richard kisses Sarah before they leave. Reynal is being tortured in the basement by Gracia. Gracia goes back upstairs and has a beer. He sees cops arriving and orders the crew to get their guns. Police raid the warehouse and kill Gracia's men. Sarah and Franck search the basement and find Reynal. Sarah tries to save him but can't. She cries over her old friend's death. Gracia and Chris shoot at the police. Chris is shot and Gracia is arrested. Sarah sees Gracia and points a gun at him. Franck talks her out of shooting Gracia. She puts her gun down, and Franck shoots Gracia himself. Richard is injured but alive. Sarah watches them take him away. Frank finds Nawabi in the basement. Nawabi talks. He and Layla are from the same village in Morocco. Their families fought for years, but then united and expanded. Nawabi and Layla were to be married. Nawabi was in Paris and got his cousin, Saeed, involved. Nawabi's father called and said that Hamid had betrayed them. Layla helped him kill Hamid's wife and son. The second boy was killed, so there wouldn't be a witness. Frank thinks he's stupid. Nawabi said he respected traditions and did it to honor his father. The Moroccan police called to report they'd found Hamid's body. He had gone to the French embassy for information on how to get his son hospitalized quicker. Sarah goes to the hospital to visit Richard. She sees him with his wife and daughter. Richard sees Sarah. He then smiles at his wife, but looks sad. Sarah throws away the flowers she'd brought.